Hello, everybody, and welcome to BC Buckets. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Colin Mitchell. Colin, this is our debut for the 2024 NBA Draft. For those who are new, maybe don't know, haven't looked at our channel, we do just draft stuff on BCB. We just talk every draft. This will be our fourth draft. We did 2020, 2022, 23, and this will be 2024. We talk basketball. We are huge basketball fans. Colin's a Pistons fan. I'm a Spurs fan.
Unfortunately.
We've done sports media stuff in the past, so we have a little bit of experience, but this is our passion project that we do every summer. So with that being said, Colin, we start off today with Alex Sarr, the Perth Wildcats from France, 7'1", 19 years old. This is when you get into the big picture of this NBA draft, everybody talks about how bad it is and how it's like the worst draft since at least 2013. But Alex Sarr, for both of us, is our top player at this moment. Now, we're
Yes.
still a month away from the draft, so who knows? But I think he's pretty comfortably my top prospect. So where do you want to start when looking at why he's our top prospect and what makes him special?
I think out of the guys that we've looked at so far, I think he has so far the highest floor out of any of the prospects with the most potential. Like we can talk about like a Nikola Topic or a Stephon Castle or Reed Shepherd. They all have pretty high ceilings if they pan out with all the skills they're good at. Ron Holland, but their floor is just way, way, way lower than Alexander Sarr. I mean, Alex Sarr, if he comes in the league and he doesn't live up to, like, if his shot doesn't develop, like, he's still going to be an incredible defender. He's still going to be able to get buckets. He's still going to be able to get his way on the floor. Whereas if Reed Shepherd can't shoot 42% from three, or Ron Holland can't develop his handle, like those guys aren't going to pan out as easily.
Yeah, I think Alex Sarr, you mentioned it, but the defensive potential is definitely where you start with him.
Yeah.
And in 27 games with the Perth Wildcats, 17 minutes, so he wasn't playing a huge amount. He led the NBL in block percentage at 7.9%, which is a huge number. I think his thing, 7'5" wingspan, I honestly think he's really versatile, and I'm gonna compare him at times to Wembanyama, but I have different comps. I don't have Wembanyama as a comp.
Okay,
but
I was gonna say
no, I don't. But I think there are similarities in how they kind of defend on the perimeter. Like he is nimble enough to kind of turn his hips and kind of get through ball screens and switch occasionally.
Yeah.
I thought I was just really impressed with what he showed defensively. I watched like 3 full or 4 full games, and I mean, he was really like there were very few times where I was like, oh, he's just, got crossed up and looked really out of place. Like he didn't really look that way on the perimeter. So you start there with him. And I just think he's a really like good, smart defender for his age. And that's like, to your point, is a really high floor. Like if you get that from him, then immediately you're talking about like, heck, Walker Kessler walked into the league and was immediately like a really good defensive player. Like that, those are the type of impactful players that he can be like.
You mentioned him being a smart defender for his age. He is able to, right now on Perth Wildcats, right? I think that's what they're called.
Yep, Perth Wildcats.
Yeah, he's able to guard 3 through 5, and when he guards the smaller, quicker players, he's not. When you mentioned he's not getting out of place, it shows up in the stat sheet when he's not getting any fouls. He averages 1.4 fouls per game. And for a young guy to do that, and for a young guy that's so big, it's incredible he's only averaging that many fouls per game. I mean, we can just go through his defensive stats real quick. 1.5 blocks, 4.5 rebounds, not a lot of steals, but I think he affects the game in other ways. And then obviously most of it I feel like is team defending, and then just being like when you compare to Wemby, you see a guy drive into the paint and he's like, oh, I'm just gonna kick this out now. Like that type of defender. And obviously that's in the NBL, so it's not going to be the same in the NBA, but it's really good to see his high floor. I think the biggest part that impresses me most, if we're going to talk about specific things on defense, is his pick and roll defense. I think that his ability not to get exploited there and defend it so well. Especially we talk about 3 through 5 guards, even like he's not going to be exploited if you have Jamal Murray and switches. So I think he's going to be a really good defender in this league.
Yeah, recovers well. I think. I mean, if we want to go to the offense side of the ball a little bit, I don't have too much more on his defense. I mean, positively wise, we're just starting with strengths.
Yeah.
That is, offensively, this is where he's going to have to develop, and this is what scares people off of, being like, hey, he's not in a normal year, he's not a number one pick, right?
Hmm.
Offensively is where he's going to have to develop. 9.4 points per game, shot 51.5% from the field, 28% from three on only 49 attempts, but 71% from the line, 66% at the rim. I think the jumper is not broken. The jumper has potential. He has pretty good rhythm in his jump shot. So, like, I think it gives him a very good base and foundation to work off of. Like, I think at the very least, he's a capable, like, mid-range shooter
Yeah.
consistently. Like, I don't think, even if he never expands all the way to 3-point line, he has the jumper foundation. And then it gets into what all 7-footers, we hope do is a lob threat, can finish. I think he's the shot selection at times, like, he can get off balance really easily, but overall, like, the motor and the offensive rebounding potential and the putbacks and the lob ability, like, that's kind of where I'm really excited to see him start his career at.
So far, I think out of any prospect in this draft, if he's able to develop a 3-point shot, it opens up so much more for his game because of how athletic he is. Right now, he can't really attack a closeout because no one's really closing out on him.
Yeah.
But if he can, just the type of athlete he is, if he's able to shoot it like 33%, like
Yeah.
he's going to be able to cause a lot of problems on the offensive end. Not only that, too, if he's able to do that, then he's going to get more confidence in transition where he's already shooting 83%, and he's going to get the ball in his hands more to where he can come off DHOs and things like that and be more integral part of the offense, because something that's doesn't really stick out for him right now. It's not really his role, but he's able to pass pretty well. Like he's not going to be a guy that's going to handle the ball, but he's able to find a guy and have his head up. So
Yeah.
I think a shot for him opens up things in his game that he already has.
And it kind of transitions into weaknesses or like areas of improvement.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if, and it's been talked about a good amount. I try reading and listening up on what other people think as well, and it's been talked about. They're not sure. People aren't sure if he can start his career at the 5, right? Like he might start at the 4. Obviously, if you do start at the 4, you're probably gonna have to play a little bit more on the perimeter, depending on if you go to the Hawks and they have like Onyeka Okongwu, and I don't think they'll have Clint Capella at this point, but Clint Capella starting at the 5, like you're gonna have to play around them a little bit. So those matchups, like you're not gonna be quick enough to just go by a 4 like an Aaron Gordon or something in the NBA. You're gonna have to kind of pick your spots. So I'm interested to see how he develops, like how he develops his like in between game a little bit, the comfort that he has to put the ball on the floor and kind of get to his spots. That's kind of where Alex Sarr will need to develop. And long term, I think he's a center, but like in the first year, maybe first 2 years, like it might take him a little bit to get to the 5 position, in
Yeah.
terms of strength as well, which, like you said, like he can kind of get bumped off of drives. And in the NBA, like that could be like a real problem. Like you have to get to the free throw line on those.
Yeah, and I think too, we mentioned his height, 7'1". He's only averaging 4.5 rebounds a game. Obviously, he's not playing 30 minutes or anything like that,
That's
but
my biggest concern with Alex Sarr.
it's something to look at. So for when you saying that you think he's center, I think his highest upside would be playing a 4. Like for me, like if he's
Yeah.
able to develop a shot, I think him playing the 4, because even his post offense is okay, but when he's in the post, it's nothing. Like I don't see that being an offensive thing for him, because yeah, he can dunk, but in half court shots,
Yeah.
or half court layups, he's 20 of 52 and 17 to 37 on layups. So
So is
I
that
think
where we draw the line of like the potential ceiling? Like, I don't know if his potential ceiling is like all NBA. Like I
no,
don't like maybe he reaches it, but like I don't think he's in like MVP conversations, because he is a little bit of a tweener right now, and like even in like 4 or 5 years, like unless if his 3-point shot really comes around and he solidifies himself as a 4-man at the 5, I think it'll be interesting offensively, because he's not a good defensively, he's not a good rebounder at this point.
yeah.
Like I just don't. by
And
it.
post defense, I don't
Yeah,
think he's there
post
right now.
defense, I don't think he's there yet. So like, I don't think he's gonna be Rudy Gobert defensively.
Yeah, definitely
I
not.
just don't see that. Maybe like we're not getting the comps yet, and he's not one of my comps, but like maybe like Karl Anthony Towns, and I know Towns is like a really good shooter, but like that's kind of to your point, maybe where I'm leaning a little bit more towards if you're looking at like potential outcomes here,
Yeah.
because he does play a lot at the perimeter with Perth, and I think that could be like where his career starts is like catching the ball 15 feet out, 15 feet and out, and kind of moving from
Yeah.
there.
Slashing, cutting,
Yeah.
doing all those things.
Defensive rebounding, though, let's talk about it because this was the most annoying thing while watching him is not only he gets pushed around a little bit,
Yeah.
but he I found myself yelling at the computer at least like 2-3 times a game, like, "Grab the ball." Like,
Yeah.
grab the ball. Like, I feel like you shouldn't have these problems where, like, the ball is, like, maybe not all right in his vicinity, but, like, right there, and he won't get it. Like, a guy will just come and grab it from him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "There shouldn't be a problem here. You should just be able to rebound at this height and this length." And, like, he's not a bad rebounder. I think his rebound percentage was a little bit less than like, all the other guys that are of his size in the draft class over the past few years. But like it like glaringly stood out to me that he's not like a super aggressive, super comfortable defensive rebounder.
Well, I think when you talk about a number one overall pick, that's something that you want to be up. Like it'd be different if we were talking about like 11 on this list, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, they'll have to improve. But with this draft being quote unquote historically bad, that's something that you want to look at to where is this guy's ceiling actually at? Because I think he has the highest floor, and I think its defense could be all defense caliber.
Yeah.
But when you start getting into the things like rebounding and strength and physicality against NBA bigs, not NBL bigs,
Yeah.
things can change. Where do you have his ceiling at?
I think he can be I think he can be an all-star. Like he can
Okay.
be a multi-time all-star. I won't
I have that as well.
like I definitely think that is potential. And honestly, the more I watch him, like I watched him again before we started this today, like the more I'm like kind of coming around on like bumping him up a little bit more. Like he's already at my number one spot, but like I do ratings on the side, and I'm like
What's your rating on him?
93 right now, which
I have
has
a,
him. What was that?
I have him at 90.
Oh, that's low. Sheesh.
He's
That's
number
low.
one still.
Sheesh. Oh, you hate this draft class.
I was trying to think like if 99 is the best prospect possible.
Yeah.
How much more do I go up?
For context purposes, 93 last year. I had Victor and Scoot 99, 98, and then I had Amin and Cam Whitmore 94, 94. So he would have been fifth in last year's draft class.
Like
Right
I think Amin Thompson goes above him.
I agree. Well, that's why I have him 94. But like, for instance, Derek Lively was an 89 last year to me. Derek Lively and Alex Sarr are very different prospects. Like I think the rebounding will prevent Sarr from being a 5 for at least the first 4 years of his career.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about comps real quick because it flows into kind of what I'm saying. I have Evan Mobley as probably the strongest comp at this moment for Alex Sarr.
I was trying to go a little bit different. I definitely think Evan Mobley. I actually have Jaren Jackson down as like a projection. I think that's something that where if he can, obviously he's a little bit more athletic, but in terms of getting the shot and kind of the role, I think that would be better. And I already think Alexander Sarr is a better slasher and cutter than Jaren Jackson is.
Yeah.
Because in my eyes, I see that's what I see. I see a guy who plays the 4, is able to run the floor, is able to use his athleticism and get points that way. I don't see him as a focal point, and I don't see that with a lot of these guys in this draft.
Yeah.
And I think
a lot of them are complimentary.
Yeah, I think we're used to seeing people that are like a Wemby, like a Cade, like even an Amen from last year. I just think that most of these guys are complimentary guys, and I don't think that's a bad thing. You can still get an all-star out of that.
I have like Serge Ibaka, Nick Claxton written down as well for 2.
Serge Ibaka is an interesting one. I like that one too.
Serge is interesting because obviously the shot came around and for Serge, and like he expanded to 3, and then he stayed at the 4 his whole career. So like that's where I like for the Hawks perspective, I like taking Sarr and then pairing him with Onyeka Okongwu. right? Like that is a strong defensive rebounding guy at the 5 that you pair him with. And that's why I started off by comparing the situation kind of to Wemby. Remember, that's what we thought Wemby was going to do, start at the 4 alongside, a 5. And then as the season went on, Wemby's a little bit different caliber. So he just,
Yeah, well,
he moved to
obviously,
the
he's a little bit
5.
yeah.
He moved to 5 and it didn't matter. But like Sarr, you hope in like 4 or 5 years, even whether the shot comes around or not, if he gets stronger, gets the rebounding down, becomes more of a lob threat, like a more dynamic, role man, then he can play the 5 and really, really start to excel defensively. And I think because that's ideally what you want. But Evan Mobley hasn't. I mean, he was good in the playoffs and good throughout the season, but like, we're still kind of waiting on to see if he blossoms.
Yeah.
And I think it could be a similar path for like Alex Sarr. I didn't put grades on that 2020 draft, but I would think I remember liking Evan Mobley quite a bit.
I think we had him like 3rd.
Yeah, we had. I feel like we had him
somewhere
fairly
high up there. I don't think
I had him 3rd. I had Isaac Okoro 3rd, but this neither here nor there.
Well, that's not that much. That's
it's but yeah, Evan Mobley. So I have one question as we wrap up. Is the absolute ceiling, like absolute ceiling here? I'm gonna throw out a name, a comparison, and you tell me why he can't get here.
Why he can't.
So I'm gonna end this on a positive note here.
Okay.
Why can't he get to Anthony Davis level?
I think Anthony Davis is just way more skilled offensively. Well, I mean, I don't even know what we're even trying to talk about here.
There is defensively.
First of all, defensively, Anthony Davis, I feel like, and this is a long time ago, I feel like when he was coming to the league, there weren't this many question marks in terms
No. Sorry. As a prospect, Anthony Davis was like probably the best like Wemby, Anthony Davis, like are probably the 2 best prospects
since LeBron.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like I'm not comparing them prospect wise. I'm saying like if Alex Sarr becomes an all NBA defender, which Anthony Davis is, I think.
Yes, I agree
on that. So like defensively he gets there, but like, and I'm just trying to be positive here. Anthony Davis, I mean, offensively, he's not like a super crazy role man. He's obviously super skilled and has the jumper and stuff like that. So like, what's holding him back? Like, is it the jumper? Like, we don't think the jumper.
Yeah. If we're talking about what makes it to where he needs to be, I guess AD's always wanted to be a 4, so we'll go that route. I think that's what makes it. I have written down right here. He's not physical enough to be a 5, and he's not skilled enough to be a 4. But I think 4 long term, to your point, that would be his ideal.
Yeah.
Like if he could blossom, it would be blossoming into an 80 like type player, because I think he's just too athletic and too quick and twitchy to be limited to that 5 position. And if he's able to get that shot down, then I think a lot of things open up. Now, if we're talking about Anthony Davis, I don't know, because Anthony Davis at one point was considered the second coming. So I don't know if Alex Sarr is, but I definitely think that he can get to a point where I think he has that in him, if that's what your question is. I don't know what the likelihood of that is. I don't think we're looking at it like this is a 20% chance or a 30% chance or anything like that, but I definitely think it is a chance.
Yeah, there's a chance. And I think I was just looking through comps and I was like, Anthony Davis is kind of that tweener as well, right?
Yeah.
The 4 or 5 type of guy. I just think that that's a interesting like top end comparison. Like if everything goes right, then like that's like maybe where he goes. But it like you said, it does feel like a long shot because it's hard with Sarr because I agree with you. I think the floor is more enticing than the ceiling.
Yes.
So that's probably how I would word that.
Last thing I want to end this on real quick is what teams. Obviously he's going to go probably 1, but he might not.
If he doesn't go 1, he'll go 2 to the Wizards.
Wizards, I think Washington's the best fit for him.
I'd be cool with that. They don't have they need a rim protect. They need a lot.
They need everything.
Yeah, so I'd be cool with him going to the Wizards. But I do expect him to go to the Hawks. And we're a month out, so maybe the Hawks trade the pick. Who knows? But yeah, we like Alex Sarr. He's our number 1 prospect right now. Trying to make sure we didn't miss anything. Gets fouled. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's all we got. We'll be back with another episode. We're gonna release them basically every 2 days. So stay tuned for our next one coming out. And if you're watching this after the fact, then check out all of our other scouting videos. We'll do versus type videos. We'll do individual player scouts. We'll do all that type of stuff. So thank you all for joining us. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video. We will talk to y'all later.